these things on time. 2 minutes, it's pretty good. Oh my god, that first cup of coffee. Hey everybody. Today in gaming news. Almost Dragon Lord, you were almost first. Hey Fargrim. Harold. Joshua Green. Handry Barbie. Hello. I don't think I've seen you on my live stream before. Nice to meet you. How's it going, everybody? You doing good? Did you have a good 4th of July if you celebrated 4th of July? Yep, I'm on. Hey Adam. Trey X Poison. Timely. Is axe poison in fact coffee? We don't know. That wasn't rude. Everything is fine. Oh, that light is terrible. How's it going, everyone? I had to manage my sleep schedule so that I could actually do this without being a wreck. 1st of July better? Oh, good. Hey, Jennifer. Yeah, I like that video on Dragonborn. I've got an interesting video coming up, actually. I was just talking to my patrons about it, my patrons, last night. That it started off as a script about shriekers, and by extension violet fungus, because they're related. Which is interesting that 5th edition doesn't mention that at all. Oh, okay. Happy Canada Day on... When's Canada Day? Is that like February? No, I don't know. Forgive me. We all need a better sleep schedule. Clearly, I can't be responsible for my own decisions. Treason Day. I suppose so. We've got an anti-treason day, technically, in New Zealand, Guy Fawkes Day, where we set off fireworks to celebrate the death of a man who tried to blow up Parliament with gunpowder, I believe. But really, we just let off fireworks one day of the year so that we don't bother the pets and stuff too much, and the fire brigade. You mate, please do more good aligned monsters. Okay. Sure. Got any suggestions? Kirin, perhaps? I haven't done Kirin yet. Coatl. Ah. Okay, that's a good point. Why so many DMs have problems with clairvoyance spells? Well, clairvoyance is pretty easy because all that is just seeing another location as it currently happens. It's a divination spell, but it happens at the time that it's happening. So it's basically like your mage, your seer, or whatever is looking in another room far, far away. Clairvoyance. Clairaudience is the same. It's just listening to something far away. But divination is more difficult because you're dealing with something that could happen in the future. And my suggestion for DMs doing that is just come up with visual cues like markers, and when the PCs are getting close to the player characters are getting close to something in the game where you want to drop into this specific encounter, we need to lead them in that direction. That's when the thing that they saw in their vision pops into the gameplay. So, for instance, they saw a yellow flag. Well, when they're outside the dungeon entrance that they need to go into, there's a old yellow flag that they find in the refuse side of the door and stuff, and it's like, oh, that was in our divination thingy, so we're on the right path. That's what you do. It's pretty simple. You don't have to get too complicated with it. What about good aligned evil creatures? Like good neutral undead or oddball good evil outsiders and such. Yeah. Here's my rule of thumb. Any monster that you can run as a player character or as a villain can be of any alignment, really. and villains of a good alignment. Here's how you handle that, right? You can have evil things that do good stuff. You can have good creatures that do evil things. It's based on their perspective. So a kobold isn't necessarily an evil being. It's completely aligned with the draconic point of view. So it does, like, dragons don't see kobolds as evil. They think they've got a sordid past, and kobolds fall into bad habits when it comes to food creatures. But kobolds themselves aren't evil towards other dragons. Kobolds are wonderful, beautiful little creatures that help and guide them and give them jewels and precious metals and stuff. You know, they're like the draconic fairies, really. Dragons love kobolds. They're mean to them, but they're still draconic people. Has anyone ever played a diviner, even as a mage? I just hire one. Yeah, just hire one. That's the best. You could play a diviner. I mean, that'd be if it's a more story orientated or mystery orientated role playing game, then a diviner would be something that your player would gravitate towards, or whatever. But just play what you want, really. It's either going to work out or not. I don't think a DM should really have much decision on what you play. They should just adapt their game to whatever the players decide to play. Hey Phelan, how's it going? You have a name. Your name isn't Phelan. For all intents and purposes. For the intents and purposes of the stream, your name is Phelan. What are my references when DMing? Oh boy. Lots. I use charts and tables from Raging Swan a lot. I use books and things from, like, I use Kobold Press's Tome of Beasts. I use what else have I got? This one, Limitless Monsters. There's a couple in there that I use. Oh, actually, I've kind of talked about that in my last video. There's a backlog of videos which are coming your way, everybody. So we're going to have another. I'm maintaining my promise of one demon video a week, even if it's my weekly schedule, not your weekly schedule, because I'm in the future. Hey, Ricky. Yeah, if you're running a Call of Cthulhu type game, for sure, a diviner, divination classes are very good for that, or even clairvoyance or clairaudience, because if they can see the danger before they actually face it and confront it, because facing the evil in Call of Cthulhu is usually lethal. The Devourer, oh yeah, okay, there's a large undead creature that gobbles up the souls of others, and you can see their trapped bodies inside its chest cavity. They're horrible creatures. I like them. Yeah, as soon as, I think you mentioned that in a comment thread of one of my videos, and as soon as I saw that, I was like, oh yeah, Devourers are creepy. So I DM a home game on Tuesdays. My Tuesdays over here in New Zealand. We start at 7 o'clock in the evening. We have food before we begin. I've got four players. Hang on, Ian, Andrew, Alex, 5, Kara, and Red, and yeah, we've currently got a bunch of 7th level characters, and they've run through. We started off playing like legit modules. Because that was a request from Kara that she wanted to play some classic D&D modules. So I ran them through the Haunted Halls of Evening Star. So they're playing in Cormier in the Forgotten Realms. And then we went on to play the Shallow Crater, which was basically a big slaughter fest with kobolds. The kobolds managed to wipe out one of their player characters at least. And it was quite a hard fight with the kobolds, and that was at like 5th level. And now we're 7th level, and they've just gone through a Netherese tomb and faced down a couple of storm giants and Sir Graf, which is Andrew's character, was actually going toe-to-toe with his fighter character, a human fighter, with a storm giant, which was quite impressive. Mainly because the storm giant kept getting distracted and didn't really fight back very much, but he was maintaining his mojo, so that was pretty cool. Dropped part of the wrestling ring on my feet last week. Oh, that's why you were in the ICU. Cool. I'm glad to hear you're feeling better, Phelan, and my videos helped in some small way. Good to hear. Oh yeah, sanity points is something very interesting we should probably have in D&D. It would certainly make it more interesting. But I mean, players are hard enough to control in the first place. Have I ever played Shackled City? No, I don't think so I have. There is a system for sanity in D&D. There are madness tables, for instance. There's nothing formal, like there's no written stuff in monster descriptions and things, because the sanity system is entirely optional for very good reasons. In Dungeons and Dragons, it's one of those subjects which can be sensitive for some people. I have thought about live streaming my games. I won't live stream my home game, even though when I move out of this place and out of town, my group and I, they're going to gather in a place and play together, and I will join them online via Skype or something. So we're going to carry on that game, although we still won't be live streaming it because that's our personal game. But I will be running games when I go over there, and I won't have a lot of interaction with the outside world, so I will be running games for people. And I won't be charging for it or anything. It won't be an exclusive service. It'll just be running games for whoever wants to play with me. No more trouble with YouTube at the moment, which is good. Which is no news is good news. I did have somebody who sent me an email asking me how I resolved the situation, because they're in exactly the same situation. They have even more subscribers than I do. It's a person who narrates horror stories. So I hope everything works out for them. I sent him basically to the person who helped me out, and that's the reason why I'm back with Talency, the multi-channel network. And Talency have actually picked up their game a bit. They've been pretty good. So I'm pursuing what should we call it? As not a partnership, a affiliate link with the DMs Guild. So in the future, I'll be able to direct and review products from the DMs Guild and point you in the direction of things that I find good. And if you buy stuff from the affiliate link with the DMs Guild, then it helps support the channel. Just another way that people can do that if they don't want to join Patreon and get the videos in advance and get direct access to me and stuff. Yeah, they've got short-term, long-term, and permanent madness tables in the DMG. It could stand to have an entire an expansion, I think, and make the madness of Dungeons and Dragons a far more fantastical thing. Like, you know, alignment changes and things like that. Stuff that are actually role-playing challenges would be good. You can call dibs on playing D&D with me all you like. It's entirely up to me who I play with. I'm sorry, you sent me what, Grimhild? You sent me something. A couple of people have been sending me stuff lately. The DMs Guild is the name that they have for basically, it's a RPG repository of stuff that people will upload for you to download for free, or it's stuff that you can pay a small amount for, or pay what you want for, PDFs and things for. Essentially, they want the Wizards of the Coast are more interested in one-shot adventures and maps and resources for people who are playing games which are in alignment with their most recent supplements they've put out. So if they put out the Heist of Waterdeep, for instance, and you've got one-shot adventures that take place around like the Desserin Valley or the Sword Coast, then they will give those priority in their listing of DM's Guild stuff. So as soon as somebody clicks on the page and you've got this nicely put together PDF of a one-shot adventure that people can play when they're not playing the main game sort of thing, then they will give that priority. That's just my tip for you if you ever want to sell stuff on there. I don't know, I'm not sure what that comment was. It said $100 slot per game. Is it a creepypasta? What? I've got to scroll back up, sorry. The Illithid head is on pause until I move out of this place into the other place, because I don't have enough time left to have a half-done sculpture. And at the moment, as you've seen, I'm doing the other artwork, which is the channel art and stuff, which is actually benefits me more than anything. And I never heard back from that guy who won it. So, yeah. Lesson learned there. Next time I have some sort of a channel milestone, I'll basically just do a thing in chat or something, and whoever shows up can get the prize. Subdual damage? What? You'd like to see a pain system like subdual damage? Well, yeah, you can. I mean, basically you just have points of subdual. Palladium Books has a decent set of sanity rules that are fairly easy to adopt into other systems. Yes, that's true. Yep, I'm well familiar with Palladium Books. I wrote for them. Shackled City is a huge D&D campaign. Whose first module was written by Chris Perkins and was in Dungeon Magazine 97. Oh, okay. Cool. Horror Babble. You would play D&D, but I'm a cringy teen. There's nothing stopping you. Horror Babble pointed them to AJ. Oh, do you just send it to me now? Oh, I'm catching up with you. The Taking 20 guy started charging $100 per slot to join a game. Really? That's entirely his prerogative. And if people want to pay it, then that's their business too. But I'm not going to be doing that. Remember, I was joking about charging a system that would be reasonable would be charging a deposit so that to ensure people show up, and they only get charged the full amount if they don't show up. That would be what I would do. Just, you know, out of politeness to other people who would have liked to have been there. But I mean, it doesn't cost me anything to run a game, and I get as much enjoyment out of it as anybody else does. So, and I'm earning enough to get by in other ways. So yeah. Yeah. Have I ever thought of covering Critical Role content in any way? And follow up, would you ever upload your own campaigns? I'll probably write some campaign stuff for you guys. And as you know, or maybe you don't know, if you go to the top right hand side of the screen on my YouTube main page, there's a little doohickey for coffee, buy AJ a coffee. If you click on that and then pay me like $5, then you engage my services as a sage, and I will give you advice on your campaign and even write one with you. So that's available to anybody. Basically $5 to get an email going between me and you, where I help you with your game. And then if you need like maps or resources and things like that, then I can research stuff for you and things, and you basically pay me what you think that service is worth, and I'll either say yep or nah, basically. And so far I got a pretty good review from my first customer, my test customer, who didn't actually get charged, but yeah. Turns out several of your fans told Ian at Horrorbabble that you had just done the YouTube demonization fight. Oh, right. That is it. Yeah, Horrorbabble. Right. That's right. Good. I'm glad they did, because hopefully he might get some help with it. Oh, good. Secret world. Oh, Grimhild. Yeah, there's a bit of in the latest video that I'm about to put out. I talk about how the Illitheri people basically got destroyed, and why there is Phaserus energy in the Underdark and what it does. So that should be interesting to you. A little bit of ancient history. I don't go into the Fourth Crown War or anything, but I do talk about that a little bit. And also, it's got me really, really tempted to do a History of the Realms series, where I just talk about the entire chain of events of the History of the Realms as found in the Grand History of the Realms, which is a really good source book, which I think everybody should have access to. Really? Yeah, it's non-lethal damage, subdual damage, designed to basically knock you out. Yeah, whips are a good example. Whips can be used either as a subdual weapon, and that's why you use like blackjacks and clubs and things like that, or whips can be used to entangle people or disarm people. We don't see enough disarming. Actually, that's a good point. How many of you use disarming in your games? Like, can players get their characters disarmed by a monster? Have the weapon ripped from their hand? He is a really good narrator. I actually listened to a couple of his videos. Yep. The problem with channels like ours is that where we basically do narrate stuff and we have images and things like that. He doesn't use as many images and things as I do. But I think the turning point with this channel in particular in regards to the demonetization issue was the Coast's open license agreement, where they basically say as long as the public has general access to the content that I'm producing of their material, I can quote whatever book and use whatever artwork as long as it isn't locked behind a paywall and everybody eventually gets to see it. So even though the patrons get to see the videos a week before I put them out publicly, they're still available to everyone eventually. So it's not locked away by a paywall. And they're totally fine with people earning advertising revenue on top of the videos. So if the content creator, Wizards of the Coast, has got no objection to it, then YouTube can't either. And as for the content of my videos, well, as you all know, it's perfectly fine. Mainly because all of the stuff that I talk about has already been published in books and things, which are totally fine for public access. So there's no real problems there. I could actually be a lot more extreme in what I talk about. Some of the Dragon Magazine articles, for instance, talking about human sacrifice things can get remarkably brutal. But yeah. How do you handle the disarming and grappling rules, Ricky? Wet towels are best for disarm. True. Well, they're basically a whip. Yeah. Matthew, you could just ignore the Spell Plague and Disappearance of Lantern. But the reappearance of Lantern and their new technology and stuff is kind of mysterious and intriguing as well. But there's not enough information on the modern Faerun, as we know. Demons and Supernatural, yeah, had a couple of 40k channels. Yeah, Warhammer 40k channels would have problems with talking about demons and things and hell. It's amazing actually, because there's a tool I use called TubeBuddy, which is essentially it's a best practice add-on program that you have on your browser, which gives me all sorts of information about my channel, other people's channels, best practices and things like that. And what it does is it looks for, and it constantly refers back to, potentially trouble keywords that may pop up in, usually it's the descriptive text of my videos, or if it shows up in the titles and things. And the one that had me chuckling is You may notice in my video about nagas, there's no text saying anything about bone nagas, because bone is a keyword that may get your video demonetized because it has sexual connotations. I haven't heard anybody using bone as a reference for anything for quite some time, but I had to avoid using that. And hell is actually the word, not demons. Demons is not one of the words that YouTube worries about, it's the word hell. So it is very much about Christian sensibilities and things, and using the word hell and hells, etc. It's listed as a potentially sensitive social issue. Hey, dupe, thank you very much. By the way, those super chat thingies really make a big difference. Thank you very much. Having a ghost of a wizard / cleric of Mistra show up as a quest giver next session. How would the spell plague impact this? Oh, that's a good question, man. Boy. Because ghosts are echoes of living people, echoes of the past. They're like recordings, kind of. They're like a hologram that keeps repeating and replaying, but it interacts slightly with the present world, which can be trippy. So it could be that the ghost is repeating an event, a set of events that happened in the past, and it's up to the player characters to figure out exactly what that set of events is. And the resolution is in observing the ghost somehow without interacting too closely with the ghost, because ghosts are very, very dangerous. So they'll have to get information about how the ghost behaved before by former victims, perhaps, or through local history and things like that. So yeah, figuring out what the ghost is doing will perhaps give them a clue as to where the ghost is going to appear next, how it's going to behave in a particular situation. Keywords and names and things, which if they shout it out, it may stop the ghost in its tracks and put it on a new, like it'll flip to a different part of the story, the narrative, and it start replaying that. Yeah, they've got to be careful not to involve themselves in the tragedy of the ghost, because they'll get dragged down with it, and it'll end up killing all of them. But yeah, that's how I handle ghosts. So you can do that with any ghost. As for the Mistra aspect, the ghost is not aware that anything has happened, like spell plague and stuff. But they may be slightly empowered in a weird way because of the way that magic. So they may actually have spell plague special powers which are applied over top of the ghost, like a template, a monster template. So yeah, that's my advice to you. Thanks, Matthew. Let's get this demonetized, shall we? Hey, Justin. It can be a sensitive topic. Are you guys speaking Elven? I'm impressed. Bone Snake, demonetized. Demonetized! Yeah, basically, bit of detective work. Like, with most things, with most encounters with dangerous beasties, particularly if you're walking into a lair of some kind, you should always have it that the players that just run in there without any information about what the monster potentially is from local sources and things. This is one of the things that you really need to encourage your players to talk to the NPCs around the local village and whatever. Even if they have reasonably crappy information, it's still any information about the monster is good. So, for instance, that's how you find out that the storm giant's got a weak knee, or it's really sensitive about its pet petunias or whatever. Or it's got a mad griffin that will give away its information about the passcode keys. Like it's got a parrot griffin that speaks the passwords to the spell giant's spellbook. Information like that that's critically important to the adventure is what the NPCs are there for. So if the players never talk to them, then it's problematic. Yeah, they've got the book there, but they don't talk about it being a Lomara. And Lomara is far more interesting than what the book actually is. So that's definitely going to be in my Demon series, talk about then. Just beat the ghost in combat. Yay, bravo, slow clap. Get ready, kiddo. It's about to get ugly. Yeah, that's when the ghost reappears. It's like, what? Oh yeah, it's temporary. It's disabled temporarily. So this is the same ghost from the past. You would have known that if you talked to the innkeeper just once. Simple is the key. Yeah, that's true. For grapple and disarm. This question isn't related to D&D, but have you heard of cogent roleplay? If yes, what do you think of it? If no, then you should look it up. It's an RPG system made by Australians. The only RPG system made by Australians that I'm interested in is Immersion by my friend Oliver and the Infected RPG. If you like zombie RPGs, you should check it out. But I'll check that out as well. Oh, that's Tolkien Elven. Sindarin, or yeah. Storm Giant took an arrow to the knee, exactly. Yeah, parrot griffin would be horrible. Think about it. I love the idea of a parrot griffin. Poetry. Udos orndolip vein minanjal. Cleric of Bane. Oh yeah, that's going to be messy. The Baneite cleric is actually probably better able to handle it as well. Oh yeah. They were indeed. Bit of history there, Grimhild. It's funny actually. It's so the Elven people were getting their asses handed to them by the Dark Elven nation, Elithir, and the other Elven people beseeched the Elven pantheon to save them, and Corellin Lorathian did. He basically stepped in and empowered all of his clerics and priests and the high mages of the Elven courts to curse the Illithiri Dark Elves to become drow. So they became very sensitive to light and had to go underground. And then they cast massive spells, high magic, elven high magic. And remember, back then, this is before Karsus's folly, so there were spells beyond 9th level, and those spells created the Phasrus energy, which the entire Underdark runs on pretty much. So that actually made it far more hospitable for the elves down there, because they could now grow all the food and things they required. And they basically said, well, we're fine down here now, we don't need to go back to the surface, screw you. And that was what? Almost 12,000, well, it was 11,491 years ago. And that is how long the ecology, the full ecology of the Underdark is. So all of the species and stuff which have evolved since then use Phasrus energy, or the majority of them do. But it's patchy. So Phasrus is like ley lines and stuff. There's areas of it which are very strong. It's not propaganda. Okay, it's kind of propaganda. I mean, it's they did some bad things. They caused a lot of wars. They were playing both sides of the wars in the Crown War. But what happened to their entire people was pretty bad. It was pretty shitty. So the Drow had good reason to be upset with everyone. They got cursed by the rest of their own people. But I mean, they were doing some pretty shitty things. Barzoom. Parrot bird. A Bodak black pudding. No, it can't be an ooze. That's one of the rules. Not a question, just a reply. Cogent roleplay is a very modular system. Sorry, you just scrolled out of sight. A very modular system with very little to no pre-made content. It's also free. You can do almost anything with it. It's fit for any setting. Good. I can use 5th edition D&D to run anything. Interestingly, actually, there's there's a few D&D 5th edition settings and modules and things which expand your gameplay greatly. There's a couple which expanded into modern and sci-fi, and one of them which is far more sort of Conan brutal gonzo D&D roleplay in a harsh world where civilization is actually evil, and the wilderness is full of monsters and stuff, and that's called Thule. So yeah, I may actually be running a game of a Thule setting game at some point, if anybody's interested in that sort of thing. Your ex was a Bodak. Why were they corrupted by a touch of pure evil? Soldavera Bodak. Yep. A Blink Bodak. How would I use the Kopru besides just making them tropical aboleth? Well, Kopru the I don't know. Hey Bear, thank you very much, man. You use 3.5 to run anything? Yeah, you can, for sure. Gonzo D&D, yeah. Gonzo D&D is basically where yeah, it's sword and shield. It's more sort of classic fantasy, like take any Boris like Villaggio artwork and stuff, and that's the Dungeons and Dragons. It's the shirtless barbarian wearing a loincloth who's rescuing the bikini-clad princess from the slathering monster which is coming crawling out of a cave somewhere. You know, that's that sort of thing. It's pretty good. Thanks, Beard. Makes these live chats all worthwhile. Those super chats. Use your brain to run everything. Exactly. Fear and Loathing in Waterdeep. Oh man, I would love to run a game like that. I got a suitcase full of elven snuff, and here I am at the town guard convention. The bat spiders are coming in from the corners. Here's some strange mutant. Too weird to live, too strange to die. Hey, linguistically overside 86, nice to see. Mr. L. Bodak Nothic. Oh, that's an interesting combo. Wow. Because they're both stare attack creatures. Metal D&D, yeah, basically. Kopru were the squid-faced, almost mind flayer mermaids in Mystara that could mind control people. Oh, okay. Cool. I just acquired a big bunch of Mystara stuff, actually all of the Mystara stuff. So, yeah, I'll be looking into that. Slavering monsters. Do you spice? You want to buy some cave fisher juice? You don't want to sell me cave fisher juice. Hoppers. And druggy Archmage. Totally possible. When you think about it, like the Archmages deal with stuff which could warp their brain insanity at any time. Could turn them into slavering horrors with tentacle eyes and stuff. So yeah, they probably think nothing of using a bit of like little bit of blow to stay up and to burn the midnight hours and read spell books and things. Who knows? There's all sorts of weird drugs and things. That's something that Dungeons and Dragons stays clear of these days. They've got some poisons and things, but they don't really have any drugs in the Dungeon Master's Guide, do they? Like performance enhancing drugs that your clerics and stuff can use to achieve the mental feats that they need to. Or what about the like juiced up fighters, for instance? Do we have the equivalent of D&D roids? We should. Pathfinder 2nd edition playtest is out in 8th second, but it leaves 3 weeks to play till then. Teach my player Pathfinder 1 just to switch to Pathfinder 2 in a month. Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I don't know what sort of system. They're not really letting people play test it, are they? They're just delivering it as a fait accompli. So they're playing lip service to the idea of a play test, and I don't want to, you know, cast aspersions or anything, but that's not how I would do it. And Archmage who doesn't dabble in alchemy isn't worthy of the title. That's true. Yeah, homebrew. Oh yeah, there is types of dragons that have hallucinogenic breath, for sure. Yep, drugs were in the Book of Wild Darkness. That's why the Book of Wild Darkness had an age restriction, I think, on it. Yeah, juiced up fighters. Playing Rich Piana the Fighter in my current campaign. Oh. Incense of prayer. Wow, man. This is really expand your connection with your god. Whoa. Fairy dragons, pseudo dragons, yeah. You can imagine this a fairy dragon which is actually trapped and enslaved. Metamagic, not metamagic. Yeah, true. A fairy dragon which is enslaved, and actually they force it to breathe out hallucinogenic gas into basically an opium den, and your job is to go in there and rescue it. Yeah, exactly, Beard. For sure. I mean, what do you think's in your healing kit? Aspirin? Yes, that's made out of willow bark. But the D&D version of drugs may in fact be concentrated breath weapons, various potens and toxins, underdark, mushroom spores, that sort of thing. Oh, okay. That's cool to know, Matthew. Yeah, Pathfinder was fantastic. Pathfinder was basically an advancement of the current game system of 3.5 into 3.75, we call it. So those who play Pathfinder have a very easy transition into D&D. In fact, they'll probably be very keen to apply templates to monsters and have they'll probably hook up with the expanded feats and things from like the DM's Guild, and they'll buy up like homebrewed feats and things. So yeah, for sure. Praise the holy number 420. Good to know. Can't really be stigmatized now, can it? If the FDA says that it's a medicine. What do I think of the mess of ale made from dragon's blood for the purpose of expanding longevity? Yeah, sure. That's perfectly fine. As long as you're willing to accept that some of your offspring are going to be sorcerers, and they'll have no choice in the matter to be dragon blood sorcerers. Oh, cool. Yeah, Bodaks are really good. Oof. Boy, you guys are scrolling fast now. I wish this little thing was bigger. Can I expand this? Oh, no, I can't. Don't enable slow chat mode. I just need the list to be longer so I can see stuff. What about if can I double click on it? No, that doesn't work either. Book of Vile Darkness, more like Unpleasant Shadows. If you want some real vile darkness, look at some of the old White Wolf books or Black Dog imprints, the books about ghouls and barley. Black Dog imprints? I don't think I've ever heard of that. Interesting. Mike in a dust, yeah. For sure. I mean, that's one of the things that's interesting about the Underdark, is that a lot of the stuff can't exist outside of the Underdark. And in the video, which I'm currently writing the script on right now, so it's like it's on the edge of my mind because I've sort of interrupted that to do this live stream. I talk about how, from the perspective of somebody who lives in the Underdark, going up to the surface world is like the equivalent of us climbing to the top of a mountain. So in the deep Underdark, that's the jungles and the valleys. That's, so underneath the rainforest canopy, you've got this self-contained system of stuff which feeds upon different types of energies. So it feeds on the leaf litter and stuff that falls down to enrich the soil, and that's fungus and stuff grows in there. It's all fungus and things. And then as you travel up to the middle Underdark, you're into the more temperate zones where you can have agriculture and farms and things like that, and it's a bit patchy. Sometimes you can have deserts, sometimes you can have water and stuff like that. And then as you go up to the upper Underdark, which is where the races like the Dwarves and things mostly dwell, the people that live there are mainly surface folk who are going into the Underdark for safety and security, but there's not enough resources in the upper Underdark to feed and sustain everybody, so they have to bring stuff down rather than bring stuff up from the bottom. So there's this divide in the middle Underdark where the people who live in the lower Underdark don't really go any higher than that. They don't need to. It's too much of an effort to go that high, and they have no real benefit from it because they've already got the protection of being in the deep Underdark. So they're perfectly adapted to the middle Underdark regions. And then in the upper Underdark, that's usually as deep as most adventurers and stuff go. Sorry about the audio. I've got a cord which is annoying me. So that's when you go down into the Underdark, and that's the caverns and dungeons and things like that. But it's kind of hit and miss. You'll have extremes of environment which are either there's no food and it's really dry, or it's really wet and muddy, and it's full of predatory monsters which will seize upon any food that they find, which just happens to be the player characters. And they're more adapted to that sort of food that's coming down from the surface because it happens more often. So they're actually adapted to hunting creatures which come down there, but they're more opportunistic. So that's where you get the hook horrors and cloakers and things like that, and ropers and things that can sit for a long period of time waiting for prey to come along. So they're quite energy efficient when nothing else is going on. Yeah, so and there you go. But of course, and then going up onto the surface, of course, is like us being in a high alpine region. So yeah, sorry, the upper Underdark is more like the high alpine region, so it's sparse in food and things. It's actually very hard to survive there. It's also really cold by the perspective of people who live in the lower Underdark. Down, and the deeper you go underground, the hotter it gets. So, because you're going closer to the core of the world. So up there, it's really cold, and the surface, of course, is they've got this thing called weather, and they've got this thing called night, day, and they've got rainfall and things, which is quite different. So it can be dry one minute and soaking wet the next. They're just not adapted to that sort of thing. It's a totally different sort of experience. So yeah, that's what I'll be talking about in that video. Yeah, gnomes are interesting. They kind of got aspects of different creatures, and that's kind of how they were designed in the first place. They really were sort of constructed as a race in D&D. I don't think it's out of the norm to have, hi Mr. Notador, I don't think it's out of the ordinary to have players who are playing themselves transported to the world of D&D. That's a tried and true trope that works quite well. Certainly helps with the immersion, because you're playing yourself. You know what your own strengths and weaknesses are and attitudes. Doomguard. Yep, you mean you're talking about the Planescape faction? Yep, I'm writing a script on the Planescape factions. Yeah. It's not the most interesting experience playing as yourself in D&D, but it's certainly something you can try. I mean, it's an interesting experience. It's a different experience. And that's the entire point of D&D, is to play different, hey Jared, to play different methods of play. See you later, Grimhild. Weaponized transmutation effects come out. That's right. You always wanted to be a pretty elven princess. Admit it. Mm-hmm. An epic dragon could take over a Lay of the Abyss if it wanted to. For sure. But why would they want to? Have you heard of Vens in the Earth? If you have, how did you like how they handled the alternate Underdark? No, I haven't heard of that, Blue Toad. Sorry. They are pretty similar, yeah, Matthew. There's been some interaction with the story of Faerun and Earth in the past. That was how Ed Green would have originally designed it, and that's the way that D&D is finally going back to it. So they're saying that all the realms exist in different spheres, basically, in D&D. So what I've been talking about is kind of in alignment with what I think they're talking about. How they're handling prime material planes is more traditional these days. Yeah, that's exactly what I'd do if I went into the D&D world. Find me a cleric, I need my teeth restored. Exactly. It's like, hey man, can you hook me up with some magical healing? Thanks. That's awesome. Wow, my knee's good. My spine's fantastic. My hair's not grey anymore. I've got hair back. That'd be awesome. Yeah, why doesn't healing reverse aging? Why doesn't healing reverse aging? Aging is a disease, isn't it? Space dragons. Yep, there are space dragons. Well, Tiamat's not in the Abyss anymore. Tiamat's in Avernus, and she considers Avernus to be hers. She just doesn't give a shit about running the place. So, if anybody says they're Lord of Avernus, they better not. They say it quietly around Tiamat. Yep. There's a D&D map I saw once, which was the continents of Earth and the oceans of Earth reversed. So it's 80% like land, or something like 80% land mass, and the shapes of all the continents are actually the seas. So that was kind of funny. You can map it out and everything. It certainly makes it easy to calculate distances and stuff. Greater restoration, this exactly. There's a lot of light in the lower Underdark. The middle Underdark and the lower, the deep Underdark. There's more light down there than there is in the upper Underdark because of all the fungus and stuff and bioluminescence. I talk a lot about the fact that you can go on an invention spree of different Underdark creatures because they live in environments that are unique to them. Have I ever run a supers campaign? Man, you have no idea. Palladium Books' Heroes Unlimited game was my jam for years. That was my main jam. D&D was a secondary for me for many years. I always played D&D. We always fell back to playing D&D. Whenever we got sick of anything else. But we ran like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ninjas and Super Spies, Mystic China, all that sort of stuff. Just like a lot. Senescience, yeah. No, Avernus is ruled over by what's her name? She's a recent addition. She is an angel who was sent down there by the Celestials to basically watch the course of the conflict and stuff and report back, and she became too frustrated with not being able to get involved in the combat that eventually she broke her orders and got involved in the combat in the Nine Hells between the demons and the devils, and the devils basically said, right, okay, fine, you're in charge. You'll do until you're dead or you screw up. and so far her tactics have worked. But Avernus is interesting because in the 5th edition Mordenkainen's Tome of Foes, they talk about it once being a bustling metropolis full of towns and cities and things, and a bustling trade centre, kind of like Sigil or the City of Brass. But it's now ruins that are basically reconstituted ruined bricks and stuff, which form fortresses and things. So imagine if you're entering into the Nine Hells through the River Styx, you'd travel through this misty, these waters on either side of you, which are infested with all sorts of horrible shit, by the way. The River Styx is an entirely different environment to what I think most people think it is. There's a Styx dragon, for instance. There's demons in particular that live in the River Styx or along the borders of the River Styx. And before you even get into the Nine Hells, you have to get past big blockades and fortresses and stuff which contain the River Styx. Is the Spell Plague on my to-do list? No, not really. Through personal preference. I don't think there's enough interest in the Spell Plague, honestly. Nobody's demanding it. That's the first time anybody said, you know, are you going to do it? So if you're requesting it, maybe. Otherwise, nope. I've got other stuff to cover first. Yep, there's a Styx dragon. Styx Hexenheimer 666 dragon. Well known for not wearing a shirt. Reclaimer, are you joking about that? Because that's exactly what Tiamat did. She created the Abishai. The Dragon Demon Lord would create their own demon types. Yes, she did. Abishai demons. Most certainly. Gnomes can become anti-liches. High-level druids can undergo a bleaching and live forever as powerful beings. Yep, that's true. Monks also can be ageless, incorruptible beings. They're actually quite a threat to the Abyss when you think about it, because a monk who is immune to being shape-changed would be able to fight a Cypriax without being corrupted and warped. Of course, it doesn't stop them being torn apart, but the Cypriax's main attack against them would be neutralized. Clank of spoons, exactly. He opens old MRE pack. Ah! Area poison. My god, did you ever see that MRE pack that he opened, which was like a Kurdish, like Afghan MRE pack? Oh, it was so gross. It was like this gruel of fatty meat and rice that looked like maggots. It was disgusting. And like all of the tins were like bulged and stuff, and he was just like, I'm not eating that. It's like, don't eat it, man. Don't do it for the views. Yeah. Yeah, it was MacGuffin for 4th edition that destroyed the art, the magic that field that permeates all of Toril. Because the weave got strained by the mythal. I mean, a lot of Elven history is tied up with the weave as well. And it's unique to Toril. So, yeah. They basically did retcon it, yeah. That's the thing. Remember when they got that big think tank of authors together? They were essentially saying, okay, we need to fix Forgotten Realms. And then they're assigned to write all these books, right? Have those books sold well? Is everybody aware of what the current conditions of D&D is? How many of you have read a lot of the latest D&D books? I can guarantee you those sales figures were not good. I could be wrong. Yes, I'm telling you, Jube, that I wouldn't eat a +3 tin of botulism. New god of magic, yeah. I'm a fluffy person too. We live for the fluff here at the Mighty Duke Glue Stick. Fluff and glue go together very well, as you may know. Where there is glue, there will be fluff. Same here. I've wanted to buy them, but can I really see myself reading them? Yeah, they said that they've cancelled the line of books. Yeah, I could sort of talk about my past campaigns. They don't actually get very good views, those books, those videos where I'm talking about my campaign stuff. It's just the way it is. Now that I'm putting out a lot more content, I am diversifying my my material, as you know. So I've got the more sort of loosely scripted podcasty type things where I talk about stuff that's not strictly. I'm trying to think of a name for that series of videos where I talk about, like, Speaking Common, for instance, or the Ant Hive, the Ant Farm D&D cosmology, those sort of videos. And one of my patrons said I should call it the Sage Advice, which I thought is actually a pretty good depiction of what I'm actually doing. And also that pays homage to the old issues of Dragon magazine where there was a column called Sage Advice. So what do you guys think of that? You can't fix Forgotten Realm, only pull bits and pieces to your liking. It is the inspiration for the setting and parts that makes it valuable, not actual lore and writing. That's true, Jared. So not many people, I would say maybe 15% of the people who play Dungeons and Dragons specifically run Faerun as it's written. And the rest of the people, the majority of people, 70% of the people that I talk to, homebrew their own campaign settings to a larger extent. So the real value of talking about Forgotten Realms, for me, I love the setting as is, because it's like this infinite well of inspiration, because it makes you think about how to construct a world. You're observing a perfectly constructed D&D world. Well, maybe not perfect, but it's a thoroughly constructed D&D world. And it's got all these examples of different types of play that you can have. Karatur playing experience is totally different from a Mazdaka playing experience, which is totally different from a Chult playing experience, which is totally different from a Waterdeep playing experience, which is totally different from a Tether or Damara or all these other places. So if you observe those different chunks of Forgotten Realms, you'll learn how to run those sort of games, or how to design those sort of environments, settings. So yeah, and you take that, it's a pre-made, like, look at the Forgotten Realms as your base creature, and then your campaign is the template that you're putting over top of it to create a new customized world. That's essentially what you do. Sage Advice, good. Hashtag run D&D. Oh, that's good. That'd be a good name for it, wouldn't it? Can you put hashtag in a title for a playlist? Flea D&D. Where'd you get the sources for your monster ecology videos? Robert, I get them from all over the place. I have an extensive collection of stuff, but mainly to reference it, what I do is I start off by typing in D&D, blah blah, whatever I'm researching. That will usually send me to the Forgotten Realms Wikipedia page, or the Wikipedia main Wikipedia article on a thing. The main Wikipedia articles are usually good for references for written work that I then go to from the Wikipedia articles. So it's very important for people not to screw around with the referencing on Wikipedia, because I need to find out what specific Dragon magazine that the article is in, so I can go to that Dragon magazine, because I don't have a alphabetical a photographic memory of every single Dragon magazine that I've ever read, because there's a lot of them, and Dungeon magazine as well, and White Wolf. Yeah, but so that's what I do, is I look it up for references, and then I try and refer to the original written work as best I can, and There's all sorts of other, there's like some really good blog writers and stuff, which I should probably talk about more in future videos, where I check their stuff as well for talking about monster tactics and things like that, that inspire me and how I look at things. But mainly I read about stuff so that I can get a, not getting seen by AJ because of horrible timing. Zone off. Sorry, Zone off. What was your question? That's a really good way of catching my attention. Hey, Trevor. How's it going, man? Trevor is one of, like, I don't know if you know this, Trevor, but I actually really value your comments because you're so, like, you're not shy about telling what you don't like about stuff. And I really like the conversations that me and Trevor have, because we're always very respectful of each other's opinions, but we often have very different opinions about things. Trevor's got a very different style of D&D play to me. So I value that, Trevor, I really do. Type your question, Zone off. Type faster. It's over now, Zone off. No pressure. Do you have sexual scenes in your campaigns? Who, me? Hello. Only as needed. Sometimes. Mainly if it's funny. Well, Flying X-Blade, you've got a passing problem. Oh, here we go. D&D related. With so many monsters that love eating and killing people, why isn't everyone dead or society collapsed from the pressure from the monsters? I've got a video coming up which talks specifically about that. I actually mentioned that question specifically. So that's coming up pretty soon. What do I call that video? It's like D&D Ecologies or something like that. Essentially, because there is far more complexity to the Dungeons and Dragons ecology, the biomes, the world, than we give credit for. So, or did I already cover that? Is that video already released for people? So essentially, the exotic ecologies of D&D, there's more creatures than is depicted in the monster manual. So the monster manual highlights things which are of specific interest to adventurers who are going into dangerous environments. So of course, it's packed full of stuff which can fuck you up. But they don't, and I mean, there is, at the back of the monster manual, there's all of these animals, right? So you got, giant wolf spider, and a hawk, and a goat, all of these things in the back here. But there is also, when you think about it, there's phase spiders, there's poisonous snakes, there's polar bears, which can be found in all over the place. There's the quipper, which is like a piranha. I don't know why they didn't just say piranha. Maybe that's kind of weird. So when you think about it, in D&D, there's all sorts of other creatures of a magical bent, maybe, or an exotic environment that have naturalized themselves, that are not mentioned in the monster manuals. For instance, how often are you going to encounter something which only exists in the border region of the Feywild just after there's been an incursion of the Feywild which has imprinted itself in the real world and then retreated again, and these creatures are left sort of stumbling around wondering what's going on. And there's predators which would feed specifically on them because it would be a glut, and they would be keyed in to finding, they would be able to sniff out where those Fey incursions are happening, and a ranger who's particularly skilled would be able to see, that displacer beast is moving in a northeastern direction at a fast clip, and it's taking its 2 cubs with it out into a dangerous environment which has got other, like a male displacer beast. So I know that there's a Fey incursion happening there because it's going to feed on stranded pixies and blink dogs and things. So it's complicated. It's a complex system, way more complex than even the Earth is. And the reason why there isn't towns that have got large fields and agriculture all around the cities and stuff is because they don't need to do that, because they can produce food magically. And also, yeah, they have other means of transportation. For instance, they have flying ships and stuff. You only just got ahead, Null Void. What did you miss after over an hour of live stream? Quite a bit, my friend. I'll keep going until I start repeating myself or I run out of coffee. Is there specific law to the Shard of Ultimate Evil itself? Yeah, there is. First of all, it's not. It's a... for a long time, I thought it was the rod, the ruby rod that Asmodeus has. Yeah, there's conflicting information about what the Shard of where did the Shard of Evil come from? It came from another universe, another multiverse. So it's not even matter. It's not even material as we know it. Think of it as the concentrated soul of a creature. So the when the Oberth broke into the material universe, they came through the far realm, and everything that comes through the far realm is basically alive, psychically alive. So the abyss is alive, and we know that because of the Lomara. The abyss actually rose up and defended itself when a pantheon of gods tried to destroy some of the layers of the abyss. So they basically tried to destroy 2 dimensions of reality, and the abyss swallowed them up. It killed them and swallowed them, and it swallowed their remnants, their essence, and the essence manifested itself in the abyss because the abyss is like a cancer that spawns, it metastasizes and turns the evil that it absorbs into living things in an elemental way. So the spirits manifest, the spirits get infused into matter and then they spawn as demons. Sorry, I'm probably making all sorts of noises. That's where the Lomara came from. So they are the thoughts of gods. AJ going to 1d4 sips of coffee. If only that were true. The heart of the old universe, yeah. So when the Oberth came over into the D&D multiverse, most of them didn't survive the process intact. They came through as souls, essentially, stripped of what they were formerly. Only a few of them, like 12 of the Oberth, came through as intact entities, even though they had to take on new physical forms just to survive in the new multiverse, because the physical laws were so different from what they were used to. And we know that even more so than the far realm, any exposure to the Oberth's original universe would cause instantaneous madness, because it's just completely off the charts, weird, crazy, horrible. Oh, that's a good point, Phelan. Yeah, I enabled commenting on that video after months and months and months of it being up, and of course it turned into a shit fest, as you know. So that's the only video where I basically don't respond to anybody. I just let them have at it. I may just delete all those comments and switch it off again, saying, "See." Had one guy on there call me a coward for putting a disclaimer at the start of it. I refrained from telling him that he could go and fuck himself. Thaumaturgy spell is an abomination. Yeah, it kind of steps on the toes of prestidigitation. I mean, it's like a clerical version of prestidigitation, exactly. Essentially, exactly what it is. It allows you to do things like manifest your god's power, etc. But you don't need a spell for that. No worries, Carlos. Yeah. Okay, everybody concentrate. The 71 of you watching, concentrate the power of your will on this coffee to fill it. I'm waiting. It's not happening. Oh, my hand's getting a tingle. No. Yeah. Have two characters battling. One's using thaumaturgy, one's using prestidigitation. Exactly. Case in point. Try it out in your game. Yeah, it isn't a spell, but it's a showing of the true power of a godlike being. Exactly. Oh, don't talk to me about puking. I did enough of that last week. Or was it the week before? Who knows? Time has no meaning when you're working for yourself. It didn't work. No. My cup is now empty. Your nose is bleeding. There are farmer wizards in Faerun. They're called druids. Full of disappointment. No! I am disappointed because there's now none left. So, in effect, an empty cup is full of disappointment. Coffee spell. Gandalf wasn't casting a spell when he got angry. Exactly. And prestidigitation is, it shouldn't be listed, well, it shouldn't be listed as a cantrip. It should be listed as a spell-like ability. Component super chat. Yeah, if I get any more super chats, I'll carry on. I'll make myself a fresh cup of coffee and I'll carry on. If anybody wants to hire my services as a sage, yeah, go and buy a gold piece on Ko-fi. Yeah, there's quite a few working class magic users. Magic users that never make it past level 2 or 3 because they just don't need to. They earn a living. It costs a lot of money to get spells and stuff. Druids are closest to what? Wizards, clerics, shamans? Closer to shamans. But druids, they're a real world thing. So they're based on real world stuff. They're closer to rangers, wizard rangers, really. Cleric rangers. Clerics of the land, clerics of the cosmos, clerics of the primordials. I suppose I should make a video about primordials too, because a lot of people are confused about what the hell a primordial is. Is it an elemental? Is it just a god that doesn't have followers? What is a primordial? Where do the primordials come from? Gods, technically primordials too. Ugh, filter coffee is an abomination. I know you Americans love it, but honestly, God's sakes. I'd rather... I'm not a coffee... Well, I am minorly a coffee snob, but for instance, I just drink instant coffee. The reason why I like instant coffee is because it's the full bean. They brew the entire coffee bean, and then they essentially dehydrate it and scrape it off. And so what you're getting is a espresso coffee, which is turned into a powder. So they get all of the 11,000 alkaloids which are involved in coffee, whereas in filtered coffee, you only get those which are water-soluble. No more super chats. Ed, you're going bye-bye. Because I have work to do. I'm about 90% done on that script, and I want to get it done and recorded today so I can start on the next one. Super Chat doesn't accept PayPal or Google Pay, just wants a credit card. The coffee ritual is ruined. Oh. Don't you hook your PayPal up to a bank account? I don't know. I'm not an American, I'm a Canadian. Also, I don't drink coffee. Well, then why are you even asking? Bah, I was broke. I'm not saying, I was just joking about the super chat thingy. I appreciate the super chats, but it's, yeah, I was going to leave anyway. Honestly, as soon as the coffee cup's done, I need to get up and move. Patreon, oh, Patreon saved my ass this month. It really did. It's still like, with this sort of situation with it being demonetized, that was like, that whole episode cost me like $1,500. That when the channel was out, it was brutal. You can imagine what losing $1,500 of your income is like, when it's down to the wire. And so I was screwed. And then all the people who donated to Patreon really saved my ass. So they have literally paid my rent and my utilities for this month. Last month I basically just used up all of my savings and maxed out my credit card and everything. So I'm hanging on by the skin of my teeth, and I may yet have to borrow some money, but yeah, I'll be okay. I'll be okay. That's thanks to you guys. Do a Patreon plug quick. Well, okay. As I'm leaving the stream, everybody who's not in this stream will not have watched to 1 hour and 20 minutes anyway, unless I like put a quick link in the description. Hi, my name is AJ. I make videos about Dungeons and Dragons lore from the world's most enduring role-playing game and one of the world's first role-playing games. My channel is well known for the depth of research that I put into my videos, and I'm not shy of making videos that are half an hour long, talking about something like a snail flail. I have a Patreon channel, and the main benefit of the Patreon channel is that if you request a specific topic for me to research and make a video about, you get priority, you get bumped up to the top of my list. Currently I have about 4 or 5 videos that I'm due to make for the Patreons. They also get access to things that I'm thinking about. Occasionally I'll put a post talking about upcoming videos that I'm making. And they also get access to the videos a week before everybody else does. So currently there's about 4 or 5 videos that they've already watched and may talk about. And it only costs a minimum of $1 per month to be a patron on my channel, and you get access to all of those benefits. You can set it so that you pay a flat rate, a flat total amount per month on Patreon. You can say that you don't want any benefits, you just pay a single amount. Like if you wanted to donate a maximum of $10 per month, you could just put, I don't want any rewards, I just want to donate $10 a month, which is great. Or you can set it so that you pay like $1 per video that comes out. So if I'm producing something like 10 videos in a month, then it'd be $10. So yeah, it's entirely up to you. Yeah, there is actually a 30-minute video of, oh no, actually it's 20 minutes, that video about flail snails. Oh, thanks, Rich. I always feel like I don't actually provide enough for my patrons, considering how much they save my ass, really. Yeah. They do have special abilities. They get more attribute bonuses, and they can access a feat at first level. All right, everybody. Time for me to go. Oh. Yeah. Sell out, AJ. They're so popular right now. No. Tell you what, I'll make Acquisitions Incorporated content. How's that? It's a much better game. What about if I cover Matthew Colville's game when he starts streaming? How's that? Because the Critical Role, I mean, it's like 6 years of their game history, and they just started a new campaign, and I'd have to catch up watching those. I just don't have time to watch hours and hours and hours of somebody live streaming, streaming their game. Thanks, Christopher. Thanks, everybody. I'm not going to sell out. Never. Matthew Colville. I'll cover Matthew Colville. How's that? Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. It's been lovely talking to you all. I'll catch you all again soon.